That's supposed to be your backing music.
Yeah, my name is George, and with me is Chris, and today we are looking at the was it year 2000?
Yeah.
2000. The year 2000's Charlie's Angels.
Directed by McG, the director of such hits as Terminator 4.
I want you off the fucking set, you prick!
He's really up and down, you know. He does. He's one of these guys that's rightly accused of style over substance. He's like a music video director, and so like right before Charlie's Angels, for instance, he directed Smash Mouth All Star.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
This guy's a piece of '90s history. He directed the music video for "Why Don't You Get a Job" by The Offspring, "One Week" by the Bare Naked Ladies.
This is the most 90s guy ever.
Yeah.
The style over substance, this movie, I can definitely feel it. It's like a lower budget Michael Bay.
Yeah.
I was surprised how poorly some of the things have aged in this movie. And I was also surprised at how well some things have aged in this movie.
Yes.
Primarily the music choices.
For me, the balance is tilting towards aged well. The things that are awful about it were always awful, except for a few, which I'm sure that we'll get to. I think everybody kind of said at that time, like, oh, they're just doing like the same sexist thing that that TV show did. And I thought this movie was pretty like smart and fun about doing the same sexist thing the TV show did. I thought it had kind of an interesting approach some of the time. Also just some gratuitous ass shots. But there are things that are very bad, and it's just such a time capsule.
Oh, the Asian thing.
They went in hard early on.
Look, I get it. If you have Lucy Liu as one of your leads, you wanna utilize that talent. But like, my God, the Tiger Lady feel, the sort of blending of Japanese, Chinese, and Thai, like just roughly the same vintage, you know?
In the like Tim Curry, Bill Murray sequences that take place at that party, are they trying to deflect criticism of what they're doing with Asian cultures by making it clear that the party is this way because the character of Tim Curry is like an idiot who fetishizes Asian culture?
Earlier on, even before this party, there's a scene where Tim Curry's character is getting a massage by Lucy Liu pretending to be a masseuse. And when I was watching that scene, I just had this sinking feeling that Lucy Liu's character in that moment, or the role within the role at that moment, wasn't done sort of ironically or as a spoof of that trope or anything. Instead, it was treated seriously, like the exotic Oriental women role. And I think that's what that was. She is playing into the exotic Eastern eye candy role. Being Asian, I'm not really a fan of that, looking back at it, but I have to give it the benefit of the doubt that I'm looking at a movie, 2 decades later. However, when we get to this party scene where we see that this rooftop party has like these kind of half-assed Japanese influence things, and then we see Bill Murray and Tim Curry wearing these fake sumo outfits and like chest bumping each other.
Yeah.
I did get the sense that they are making fun of Tim Curry's character, that they are doing this ironically, that they are mocking at this rich idiot.
Yeah.
Thinking this is what Japanese culture is like.
This movie felt what you're describing, that tension and how you're not quite sure what the movie's doing. I felt that way about how it handled like gender and exploitation also. Sometimes it seems to be doing something really smart and asking me to laugh at the right targets, and sometimes it's just a gratuitous butt shot. It was never like consistent enough to make me think, oh yeah, they're just like, this is a very clever satire that's firing on all fronts kind of thing.
I guess how I should put this is that it didn't feel malicious. It just felt like of its time.
Right.
And I think that's okay, An example of what is malicious feeling, Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Mickey Rooney's character in Breakfast at Tiffany's is not just a product of its time, but it feels malicious.
Yeah, that's a guy who's an asshole at a party doing a terrible joke. Like,
Yeah,
and it's
that's
just
just
a guy who
mocking
wants to mock.
me.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's just go to the elephant in the room. I was so surprised by this scene. I did not think this was gonna happen. But then again, maybe in the year 2000, this was just such a no problem.
So by total coincidence, I had just been looking at an article about the use of brownface in Alibi, the Jennifer Garner show. Not Alibi, Alias, the Jennifer Garner show. Lo and behold, there are these exact same costumes. She does this with the darkened skin and everything. She does well, I don't need to describe it because I'm sure we'll show it maybe.
Yes.
But yeah, so it's at least this was not the only movie or the only big pop culture thing doing this still.
I don't know what Western culture was like in the year 2000. I wasn't around this side of the world back then, so
we know what Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is up to.
Like several, 8 years after this movie, we got Tropic Thunder with Robert Downey Jr., you know, full on doing a blackface role, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, with that movie, his character is making fun of the idiotic character, of the idiotic actor who, like, you know, thinks method acting really means. What did he do? Pigment treatment? That's the
Right.
character, right? And it's like, okay, he is the butt of the joke. But in this case, when Drew Barrymore walks out with this brown skin painted on, it serves no purpose.
No.
And it's even more moronic because the other two angels who are also in the scene and is the center of attention, dancing in the middle of the room, don't have this makeup
Don't look
on.
as One of the interesting and unique things about the production of this movie is that Drew Barrymore herself had very cleverly bought the rights to Charlie's Angels before there was like talk of doing a big feature film. She made like 40 million off this movie, by the way. She is one of the big producers on this film. So anything that she
Right.
did in this movie,
She chose to do
she
it.
chose to do. There's a ton of fun trivia about this movie. I don't know how much of it'll come up, but like when Drew Barrymore like runs up to the house naked and there's the two kids inside
Right.
that give her a shirt or whatever. That's the house from E.T. And there's even a bowl of Reese's Pieces on the table.
Okay, so one last part I wanted to talk about, which is like technical jargon that was just bullshit, you know?
Okay, excellent.
With this scene where who turns out to be the villain of the movie, describing voice DNA and how everybody has like a different voice print.
Yeah, already forgotten about that. Okay.
However, one main part the movie talked about and that aged really, really well is the villain or the supposed villain could turn cell phones into homing devices as a devious plan for like corporations, you know, to like know where everyone is.
Yes.
And I was so surprised how like correct that was.
Yes.
That became.
And not only
Yeah.
that, but like they're worried about the privacy.
Yes, her exposition on this potential evil plan ends with the line, "The end of privacy."
Yeah.
He wasn't exactly forthcoming when he shot me out the window.
To a certain extent, this whole movie kind of played like a spoof, not just of itself, but also like a spoof of the action genre, I guess, because what a lot of it is doing, like what the Angels do is dress up in various costumes and like infiltrate specific communities that those costumes are needed for. It also feels like what the Angels do is sort of wear the costumes of different action heroes in a way too, because they do this Mission Impossible heist that opens the movie, and they do James Bondy type things, and they do martial arts type things, and it felt like part of the fun in the movie, in the same way that they do a bunch of costumes and do a bunch of characters. They also get to do like all the different subgenres of action and spy thriller is
Yeah.
kind of the fun of the movie. And I thought that like blended in really well with the straightforward meta jokes about like, oh, we're adapting a TV show and stuff.
Which reminds me, if you're interested in listening to the full-length discussion of this episode, you can find it on our Patreon. The link is on screen and in the description down below. If you go over there, you will get the entire recording in an audio format like a podcast. Check it out, support us, help us keep doing this. We really appreciate it. Anyways.
One random thing that's just hiding there in the IMDb trivia, they had a whole bunch of trouble finding the Alex character, the Lucy Liu character, and Lucy Liu was like way down the list. They were looking at black Alexes. One of the people that auditioned was Tandy Newton, and she reports that the reason that she didn't do it is because she went in to meet with Amy Pascal, and Miss Pascal told her that it wouldn't make sense for audiences, because she's black, audiences wouldn't accept her as a college-educated character, and Amy was in the process of trying to make the character more traditionally, like, uneducated black. So that's a sad story from the production.
Gross. That's really gross, but yeah.
But just also like another odd look at like what things were like, I guess, at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Can anyone show me?
Ooh, barracuda.
That's a fantastic scene. Her performance in this scene was excellent. Both like the terrifyingness, but also just,
it was
eroticism.
I think this was maybe the hardest that Caroline and I were laughing through the entire movie, including that joke where she hits Drew Barrymore. Yeah, no, she's a magnificent actor, and this movie is really her, like, at the top of her talents.
And I can like just imagine the devastating effect this had on like teenage boys in the theater watching this movie, and like how many of them figured out what they liked afterwards.
I was gonna say the Sam Rockwell Drew Barrymore relationship and betrayal is the high point of the movie for me. That's kind of an easy thing to say because it's basically the only plot in the movie. It was these scenes that sold me on the movie, basically. Movies used to rely on actors and acting moments so much more. And I feel like this is one of them where they have this stupid back and forth about shake and bake. And she has a line, her last line in this scene is going to be like, I want to shake, I think.
Yeah.
Which is a ridiculous line. And it's all on Drew Barrymore to convey to us that her line, I want to shake, is showing him that like she's ready to take their romance to the next level and they're going to spend a wonderful night together.
Will you marry me?
Oh, baby.
Yeah, it was one of the other points that I wanted to make about how I think meta-ness is cool in this movie. Yeah, Lucy Liu's dating Joey from Friends, as our younger viewers may not be aware, tried to start a film career in these times, late 90s, early 2000s, and it turned out that he doesn't have much going on beyond Joey. He did Lost in Space and tried to be an action hero, and then already he was back to this, where he's basically playing Joey. Anyway, all of that is irrelevant. Point is, he's in this acting scene. They play a trick on you where you think he's talking to Lucy Liu, but then she's shot violently, and you're like, oh my god, what has happened? But then, of course, it's a movie set. And what I loved about this moment is, obviously, the movie is fridging his girlfriend, where she's getting shot, she's face down, she doesn't even, like, have anything to do with the scene, and they even accentuate it because Joey just, like, hurls her on the ground.
Yeah. I seriously, for a second, thought that was a dummy.
I did too! He throws her so aggressively. But in this one key moment, they remind you that right now, in the world of Charlie's Angels, they're still also making these douchey, sexist action movies.
Yeah.
Like the one Joey is making.
The first action moment that I was really happy about, and it surprised me how well it held up, is this one, where Crispin Glover is running away from the Angels, and he jumps on a box, turns around, it goes into slow-mo, and he just shoots at them. Oh, that's just great.
You know what I read about Crispin Glover is that this character, the Thin Man, had a bunch of dialogue, and Crispin Glover didn't like it, and he was like, can we just cut it all out?
Yeah.
And they agreed to it, and thank God.
And the hair thing, God.
And he's so evil, and he's so horrifying.
It's so great. It's so over the top, but it's so perfect because they keep calling back to it too.
Also, Crispin Glover's idea, apparently.
Oh man, this man is just brilliant.
Yeah, he is brilliant.
The one little part that I didn't like is like the naming of the stances as she's doing it, and they're so nonsense. And when she did this thing, she says Buddha on Lotus, and it made me say out loud, okay, fuck off.
Yeah, I would love to say that they were self-aware here, but I don't know.
And that's kicking your ass.
For sure, like, modern action choreography is so impressive. It's incredibly intricate and complicated in ways that these movies never were. But there was just something about action and the way it was done at this time that is deeply satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have the like edgy oomph of John Wick or something. It's definitely like dumber. Feels like you should just be eating popcorn and have your fountain drink there and
right? Yeah.
enjoy a movie.
Yeah. Do you have some things for this one?
For what, George?
For this segment that we still don't have a name for, so I'm gonna call it what we would do differently to be better than what the movie did.
Yeah, so for this week's segment of what we would do differently to be better than what the movie did, yes, I have a proposal. And they flirted with this idea. In the movie, everything builds up to a climax where Sam Rockwell is going to fire a rocket and kill Charlie. I think the movie should have early on killed off Charlie. The movie should have been about the Angels adapting to being their own group and leading things themselves. I think the very obvious thing to do was to kill their patriarch and force the Angels to take the reins of the company and be the ones calling the shots from now on. He dies right away. He gets killed at the start, and they're trying to figure out who did it or whatever it is, while also dealing with the fallout of that and having to hold their organization together as its new de facto leaders. That is my pitch.
That's a good one, yeah.
And then the sequel would just be called Angels.
You know, that kind of makes me want to watch James Bond where it begins with M dying.
Yeah.
And Bond has to, like, keep MI6 together.
I can't get all my Bonds straight in my head right now, but I feel like there must be an equivalent.
Yeah, Charlie really didn't do anything in this movie, so...
Can anyone show me?
Ooh, Barracuda!
So that concludes our looking back at the year 2000, turn the millenniums, Charlie's Angels. The next one, we are going to continue with Charlie's Angels, but with the 2019 remake. The 2019's Charlie's Angels, I have a feeling, is going to be a lot more miserable for the two of us.
It's not going to be like this. I feel confident saying that.
No, I don't think so neither. But I have to admit also, for the 2019 one, this will be my first time watching it for review.
Exciting times.
Oh boy, isn't it just? Okay, well, yeah, that's it. Stay tuned next week for Charlie's Angels 2019 version. And yeah, we'll see you then. And remember to like and subscribe and come check out our Patreon. Thank you all very much. See you next week.